Hello there everybody and welcome to the Mr. Sin channel. In this video, we are going to be exploring Mario Kart 8. You know, the game with racing and that wonderful Italian plumber we all know so well. It's me, Mario! And while my impressions of Mario might be awful, this video hopefully will be pretty exciting. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. We're going to be studying Mario Kart 8 on the Nintendo Switch to see if there's actually a hidden agenda within the game. Is Mario Kart 8 actually promoting certain economic ideologies? Does Mario Kart 8 actually want the players to become socialists or communists or capitalists? All excellent questions, and the answers are coming up. Now, I can't stress this enough. While watching this video, make sure to take notes. Use my guided notes. The guided notes are located in the description below. The guided notes will go along with the video and it'll help you focus on all the main concepts. Throughout this video, I'm going to keep bouncing back and forth between gameplay, between me just talking on screen, or me talking over gameplay. So it's important for you to be taking notes so you can understand all the important concepts. Because that's the whole point of the video, is to help you learn in just a different way. Now, over the years, the Mario Kart franchise has become a household name. And Nintendo's known as a family-friendly game company. But are they really family-friendly? Does Mario Kart have a secret agenda? Does Mario Kart promote certain political and economic ideologies? Today we're going to explore that very question. Now, before we get into all this, we're going to have to explain what communism and capitalism and socialism are. And that's going to be important for us to understand. But pause the video right now and take a guess. Do you think Mario Kart actually is promoting some of these economic systems? And if so, which one? It's up to you to determine which system you truly think. At the end of the video, I'll give my own opinion on which system I believe the game is promoting. So make sure you stick around till the end. The first economic system we're going to look at is capitalism. Now, capitalism believes that the government should remain hands-off of the economy, that private businesses and ownership and the consumers, they're the ones that should run the economy. Supply and demand are king here. Free market is at play. Let consumers and also the private businesses determine prices and which goods should be made. The government has no place to be involved. Adam Smith is the father of capitalism. He's also the father of a term called laissez-faire, essentially just meaning government hands off. Let the market do what it wants to do. Don't get in the way of it. The government will create inefficiencies and it won't be as productive as a true free market. Now, capitalism is best summarized by just winners and losers. Some people will become winners and other people losers. It all is up to your own decisions. The government isn't there to intervene and try to help you out or create support systems. It's just there to kind of provide the basics. Again, though, not interfering with the economy. So this is kind of the fundamentals of capitalism. We're going to now look at how is capitalism actually seen into Mario Kart. And the best way to do that is to get into some gameplay. So let's boot up the Switch and look at some Mario Kart 8. So we can actually see capitalism being shown in Mario Kart in a variety of ways. Even originally from the selection screen of when you're picking your character and your car and your wheels and your parachute or glider, whatever you want to call it, there's different factors that go into that decision. So we can see here, people actually have different stats. On the screen right now, you can see I'm kind of rotating through the different customizations, and my stats change, which means I have the ability to improve and get better. This improves my odds of success, and so I can get advantages and possibly become a winner. On the other hand, too, right now, I can see during the races that I actually have coins. Now, the coins actually give me speed boosts. And if I collect more coins, more resources, I'll be able to go faster. And those who have the most coins, well, in this case, 10 is the most, they get the biggest speed boost. And people who have less, well, they fall behind because their cars won't go as fast. The coins are a perfect example of capitalism in real life. Not just because it's money, but because in the game, when you have 10 coins, your car goes faster, which helps you get ahead. Just like in real life, if you have more money, if in a capitalistic society you just keep earning more and you keep innovating and you keep getting a bigger paycheck, well, you'll move ahead. And you then have advantages over people who have less money. When you have more money, you can invest in more products, you can invest in more companies, you can even start your own company. And so it'll help you get ahead even further, just like in the game. Now, it's not just coins and the car selection that we can see capitalistic ideas. We can also see it in the leaderboards. Now, I mean, when we look at Mario Kart, the goal of it is to win. We have people who are at the top and we have people who are at the bottom. Depending on the amount of people racing, you might finish first or maybe even 12th. So we have advantages to people who succeed. The game rewards work. The game rewards that first place finish. Now, the hard work comes in trying to master how to drift, how to jump, how to get the right spot for the starting where you take off and you get the boost, or how to find that perfect combination of vehicles and the different traction that you need for each map. All of these go into making you a better person and trying to get then your victory. And those are all capitalism, working hard, figuring out how to succeed, and trying over and over and over again. So you might be thinking, all right, this game clearly is a capitalistic game. Awesome, it's promoting capitalism. Well, not so fast. We still have a couple of different ideologies to go. Let's take a second now and actually look at socialism. Socialism is an economic system that promotes actually the distribution of wealth. The goal of socialism is to try and bridge the gap between the wealthy and the poor. Socialism actually looks at capitalism and says it's kind of too harsh. We need to be able to support the people who are at the most disadvantaged in our society. And the people who have the most, they're the ones who should be paying for it. So socialism will actually provide a lot of services for its citizens. Things like transportation, things like energy, public services, healthcare even, or schools. All these will sometimes be provided for free or little cost. Now, socialism is going to use taxes to be able to do this. There'll be higher taxes in a socialist country. And normally what happens is the wealthy are going to be paying the most. Those who are the furthest ahead in society pay the most in taxes. And those who are the furthest behind in society receive the most benefits from these taxes. So again, the goal is here to bridge the gap. We are not trying to have it where everyone's equal. What we're trying to do is make sure that everyone is close together, that they're relatively in the middle. We're not having the extremes on either side. Now the question though is, how can we see socialism in the game? Is there as many examples as capitalism? Well, let's go into Mario Kart again to figure that out. One of the first areas that we're going to look at to see some socialist tendencies in Mario Kart is actually the item boxes. Now, a lot of people know that when you hit the box, it's going to randomly give you an item. You can use this item to try and get ahead in the race. However, it's not truly random. When you hit an item box, when you drive into it in Mario Kart, what it's going to do is give you a random item, but your odds are different depending on where you are in the race. Now, it's not determined by your position. A lot of people think that, oh, if I'm in second, that'll change my odds, or third, or fourth, or fifth. It actually has everything to do with how far back you are from whoever's in first. So the further back you are from first place, your odds are going to change. On the screen right now, you can see the different breakdown of these odds. Now, the data that we're looking at right now on the screen is from the Super Mario Wiki page. Now, this is from Mario Kart 8. However, these items and the distribution lists we're looking at might be actually from the Wii U version, not the Nintendo Switch one. However, they are pretty much the same game. Just know that there may be some numbers that are a little off. One of the things we can see here is that if you are actually closer to first place, notice again how it's not necessarily just which place we're in, it's the distance in units from first place. The closer we are to them, well, we don't have really that many great odds. We're going to get some pretty average items. However, as we start to move further back, we start to see some of the bigger items increase in our chance of getting. Items like the bullet that are going to help us speed past everyone, or the star that gives us a speed boost and make us invincible, all of a sudden now become some of the easiest items to get. We also have the mushroom, the golden one, that'll give us unlimited super speed for a period of time. So the further back we go in society or in the game, all of a sudden now we are getting some generous handouts that are going to help us boost up and rejoin not only the main group, but put us possibly even in a further position or maybe even first. And the closer we get to first, well, the less advantages we get in the game. The way that items are given in Mario Kart directly connects to the real world with socialism. Those who are the poorest in society get the most handouts from the government. Those who are the richest, or the people who are in first in the race, they get the most taken away from them. Now, you might be saying, well, Mr. Sin, they're not getting anything taken away. They're just getting less from the government. This is true. However, we have to look at another aspect of the game, and that is the wonderful blue shell. And it's not just the blue shell, but when we're looking at the game, whoever's in first, you're most likely to constantly get attacked and have things push you backwards. The blue shell only goes after the person who is in first place. Red shells, which are going to be given to players behind first place, target anyone ahead of you. All the items in the game are actually used to keep pulling people backwards, except for items that are given to the players who are further back that push you forward. All the items work actually as kind of a balance, a yin and yang. The goal of them is to try and keep people together. And we can see that in the gameplay itself. Mario Kart wants it to be a close race. That's why the item boxes are rigged. That's why our items actually are going to punish people who are further ahead and help people who are further behind. Now again, maybe some of you still don't believe me that there's some socialist tendencies. And yes, that data could be a little off. I didn't have time to fact check every single thing with it. However, there's another area where we can actually see some socialist tendencies in Mario Kart. And this has been kind of a controversial topic of Mario Kart since the beginning of the franchise. And it's a concept called rubber banding. Now, what rubber banding is when you are in first, especially if you're racing against just computer players actually get a speed boost. When you are ahead of them, they will get a boost to their overall speed because the goal is to try and make it more competitive. So the further you get ahead, well, the more of a speed boost they get. This keeps the race close. Sound familiar? Sound like bridging the gap? Just like socialism tries to do with society. It's not to make everyone equal. We still have winners, we still have losers. The goal is, though, to try and make a close race. Try and make a close economic level where everyone is kind of together. We don't have the extremes. In order to try and see how much rubber banding was impacting Mario Kart 8, I did a little experiment. Now, I should note, this experiment does not definitively prove that rubber banding is happening, and it doesn't show how bad it actually is or isn't. I just did a couple tries, and I just tried on one map. So other variables could be at play here. However, I raced on Moo Moo Meadows, and with me in first place the entire time, it took the first computer to finish 1 minute and 59 seconds. However, when I just sat then at the sidelines, never even moved at all, except for maybe a little bit backwards, without me racing at all, it took the computers 2 minutes and 21 seconds to finish. And that's again going off that first computer to finish the race. So there is a big difference. The computers finished a lot faster when they were chasing me. However, when I wasn't in front, they seemed to go slower. So this could again be possible evidence. Now again, in order to truly know about rubber banding, I probably should have turned off items and run more tests. However, it's an interesting idea and there is possibly some evidence to support it. I was also kind of curious to do one more test with the game. I was curious actually on that item distribution of how bad actually is it? Could I theoretically not race for 30 seconds and still win? Well, I found out pretty quick that yes, especially when I was on 150cc and just racing against computers, that was really easy for me to do. So I tried taking a step further. I let the computers completely lap me and tried to win. And actually I ended up winning the race because all I got was the bullet, the star, and the golden mushrooms. So I was able to quickly outpace all the computers. And factoring in some rubber banding, I was able to do it. Now, this definitely probably wouldn't work if you're racing against your friends. I actually tried it against my fiance multiple times, and it never worked out. I ended up getting, I think, about 5th place. That was the highest I could get there. And that brings into other interesting questions, which would require more research to try and figure out how the game mechanics work. So we have 2 economic systems down and 1 to go. Take a second and think to yourself, is Mario Kart actually pushing some secret agenda? Are you starting to believe maybe it's capitalism or is it socialism? Or maybe you aren't decided yet and that's just because you haven't heard about communism. Communism is an economic and political system that strives to have a classless society. In true communism, there actually is no government in the long run. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were the ones who created this system. They also had a very significant role and essentially created socialism as well. Now, what they thought was that capitalism was just evil. Capitalism had winners and losers, and it would lead to revolution because people would get upset with being taken advantage of. And the working class would rise up against the elite, and there would be anarchy, and the government would have to assume more responsibilities. And we'd move from capitalism to socialism. And then with socialism, there still wouldn't be enough. And eventually society would progress into communism. Now, the government would redistribute everything, they would make everything equal, and eventually then the government would continue to shrink. They'd get smaller and smaller and smaller, because the government itself is actually a class, and so it couldn't exist. And eventually then, once everyone was equal, then there would be no more need for the government, and the government would disappear and society would work. Now, communism sounds great. Everyone's treated equally, there's no inequality. It's great on paper, and we haven't really seen it work in real life. Now, there is evidence on smaller scales, both on a tribal level or more of a communal aspect. We haven't, though, seen evidence of it working on a nationwide level, or definitely not a global. So, depending on our scale, you could argue that communism works. If you've played any of the past couple Mario Kart titles, you'll be familiar with this item here, the ghost. What it does is when you use it, it's going to go and it takes items from other players, literally taking their resource that they earned and then distributing and just giving it to you. You're taking away and giving it to other people. It also is going to temporarily protect you so no one can actually hit you with things. That would be kind of actually a form of communism. The government comes, takes your resource, and gives it to someone else. They are redistributing it. Another example we can see is, again, actually these boxes, item boxes. The item boxes, we can see, are giving us items. They're giving us resources. But we don't get to actually have any input in what resource we get. In fact, the government, or the game in this case, is the one that determines which items should go to which players. And while that, we already talked about, has some socialist tendencies, it also has tendencies of a command market, or in this case, it would fall into communism, where the government is the one deciding the allocation of all of our resources to the players. So take a second and think to yourself now. You've heard about capitalism, communism, and socialism. Is Mario Kart actually promoting one of these? Is it trying to get us to buy into one economic ideology, one economic system over another? Pause this video and try to think and figure it out. Once you're ready, unpause the video. All right, the time has come to go into what I actually think about Mario Kart 8 and which economic system it's promoting. Now, before you listen to me, make sure to post in the comments below what you actually think and put your rationale. Maybe I was off on some points, or maybe I missed something. Let me know in the comments below. It'll add to the discussion. So I actually think, though, that Mario Kart 8 promotes two different things. One, I think, is promoting more socialist tendencies. Socialism with bridging the gap is used all the time in the game, and it's actually used to try and keep the race close, which makes the players constantly feel like there's a competition and makes them want to keep coming back. It's not fun to always just blow out the competition and win with a huge landslide. It gets too easy, and then people get bored. And on the other hand, it's not fun to always be in last or never be able to get close to first or never win. So the game does both. It keeps the competition up, and it also promotes people who are in the end to kind of get caught up, even if they don't have that much skill. Now, this helps balance players and tries to keep it competitive. It bridges the gap. Now, another answer that I think it could also be is a system we didn't go into, and that's a mixed economic system. This system actually might better represent Mario Kart as a whole. In mixed economic system actually takes the best of both worlds. It's going to take part of a command market and also part of a free market and kind of put them together. We'll have some aspects of capitalism, some aspects of socialism. The government is going to be part of this market, but it's not just the government deciding what's going to happen with resources. It's going to be a mix between the government, private citizens, and private industry. All three are going to be working together to figure out what's best for society. The government will be in place in some areas and offer some services to help people, like in Mario Kart, when we see actually the government then, or the game, giving people further back items to help them catch up. On the other hand, though, you still have an advantage if you have skill, if you can drift, if you can do tricks. You get a boost in the game, and they can't take that away from you. You can win on a more consistent basis if you've played the game more. So it does promote hard work, and it does promote you trying to continue to get better. Now, Mario Kart 8 is just a fun game to play with family and friends. But there are some interesting similarities between the game mechanics and the economic systems we talked about in this video. Now, the goal of this video was to just try and show this content in a fun and different way. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, please consider subscribing. It helps support the channel and lets me make more content. And if you know someone who might find this video interesting, well, share it with them. Again, that helps grow my channel and lets me create more videos. Right now, I'm looking at trying to create new videos that'll use video games, movies, music, and also real-life current events. Trying to figure out different ways to make some of the things we learn in school a bit more interesting. Thank you again for watching the video, and if you have any questions at all, make sure to let me know. Until next time, I'm Mr. Sin, and I'll see you on the racetrack.